Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Tennessee perspective. First of all, so the Heupel stuff.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't know how long you've been with Oklahoma for. I guess this is
2011 was my first year. Josh was the OC whenever I started.
Okay. So that was going to be my question. For people who are not historians, I don't want you to burn any bridges within the athletic department. Whatever. No. Yeah, I was going to say whatever you can share about how things went down in 2014. I actually watched some of the press conferences from that time frame. But then also just really quickly, Heupel said all the right things this week. I know you don't want to speak for another man, but we've all been let go from jobs that we didn't necessarily want to let go from, or at least I have been. And I know that I would be walking in with a chip on my shoulder, and I'd be curious, one, what you could share about how it went down, but then two, do you believe that Heupel is, I'm still grateful to Oklahoma? I mean, I'm sure he's grateful, but it's like, I think he also wants to come in and kick butt and take names too.
We got fired. That's the reality of it. Excuse me. He got fired and he got replaced by Lincoln Riley. And there's this great debate amongst the faction of the fan base that, maybe Josh should have been given another year, because when Lincoln Riley came in as the offensive coordinator from East Carolina, who was the starting quarterback? Baker Mayfield. And there's a lot of people that felt like Heupel had kind of handpicked Baker Mayfield as being the dude that could run his offense. Now, again, that's all revisionist history. There's a lot of interesting ties. The president at the time of the University of Oklahoma, David Boren, I think it's his granddaughter that Josh Heupel's married to, So
wow.
you had that tie, daughter, granddaughter, whatever it is. So it was a really kind of dicey time. And the problem is it was a really bad year, man. 2014 was not a good year for Oklahoma, and it came after arguably one of their biggest bowl wins ever. They beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl with Trevor Knight, and a lot of people thought Oklahoma, Oklahoma fans thought Oklahoma were on a fast track towards being a national championship contender with Trevor Knight the following season. They lost to TCU in Fort Worth, and kind of the bottom fell out from that point forward in 2014. So Josh got fired. That's just the reality of it. You can try to paint it any way you want, but I don't know many people that leave Oklahoma to take a job at Utah State, unless you're taking a head coach's job. And he went there, and Matt Wells was the head coach at Utah State, and he resurrected his career, AT. He went to Missouri, did great things there, went on to UCF, and now with what he's done at Tennessee, I think it's one of the coolest,
I agree,
kind of bounce back stories that we've had. And Oklahoma is, in the Bob Stoops era, you got great names like Teddy Lehman and Rocky Kalmus and Jason White and Sam Bradford, but it all started with Josh Heupel. Yeah. He's the only guy that has a championship ring on that finger. So I think it was tense. I don't think there was a lot of good feelings between Oklahoma and Josh Heupel for the longest time. But when Britt Venables came back, and I think Roy Williams had his Hall of Fame induction a couple summers ago, Josh was around more. And I don't want him to have a great night Saturday night, but I think everyone still roots for him. He is, he loved Oklahoma. He came here from like Snow Junior College in Utah and won a title, working under Mike Leach, working under Mark Mangino, Chuck Long, Bob Stoops. And, it's unfortunate how it ended for him as a coach, but I think he's proven, hey, that was a mere bump in the road, and he's resurrected his career. So it wasn't pretty, I think, how it ended, but I think you have a lot of people come Saturday night that are going to cheer if they acknowledge him. And I think you're going to have a lot of people that once Saturday night happens, a lot of OU fans are going to root for Josh Heupel. He really made a lasting impact as a player and as a coach.
The last one, and if you have anything else to add, please feel free. But he is coming in with a really good team.
Yeah.
They're unbelievable. I think you were covering a game, but I was on air during that NC State game where they, not only did they march up and down the field, they couldn't stop. NC State didn't have an offensive touchdown. I mean, I don't think Tennessee's given up an offensive touchdown all year. know you got those crimson and cream glasses on, but
Sure.
what do you believe and like what do you
Well,
again? Go
I
ahead.
think North Carolina sucks. North Carolina State sucks. So I can't get too carried away because I thought North Carolina State was going to cover in that game. I thought that they
Sure.
would keep it within 10. But now you look what they did against Western Carolina and then what they did against Louisiana Tech last week. It's kind of hard to give them a lot of hat tips, but you're right. In the biggest test, like let's not get carried away looking at Chattanooga. Who cares about Kent State? What they did against North Carolina State was jaw dropping, dude. They dominated that game, and that's an ACC team. So regardless of how I feel about them or how anyone else feels about North Carolina State, that is a team that Tennessee mauled. And Nico has been able to ease his way in because their running game is just gashing people. It seems like every single one of their wide receivers looks like a guy that can play on Sunday. And I think the hidden thing that's really good about Tennessee that's really impressed me in my early prep, you and I taping this early in the week, you mentioned you watched a lot of that North Carolina State game. I think their defense is really good.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
James Pierce is a rock star. I think he might be a top 3 pick in the NFL draft next year. They seem to be good at every level. The back end, they're multiple in what they can do. So, this might be a national championship contender in what Tennessee has put together. But it is the first time that any of these young guys, especially Nico, have been put into a hostile environment. Now, they can go into a hostile environment and hush it quickly by jumping out 14 zip or 21 zip, and the fans will be quiet. But I kind of get the sense that it's a Oklahoma's waited for primetime games like this. Game day came here in 2020, but 2020 doesn't matter. Fans weren't here. Game day hasn't been to an Oklahoma home game since 2012. When
Wow.
Notre Dame came here, right? So
Yeah.
it's been a long time, and you can gauge how much you care about game day. It is what it
It
is, but it
matters.
had been here in a long time since Notre Dame came here. So short answer to a long answer to a short good question. I think the fan base is really juiced. I think Tennessee is a lot better than anyone expected them to be coming in. But I also think it's the biggest test that Tennessee has seen, and it's definitely the biggest test that Oklahoma has seen. And I think Oklahoma's going to play their best football on Saturday night. It will be fascinating to see how both these young quarterbacks truly handle the big stage.